Okay, so we have a texture now, or these materials now, and they're looking great in here. And I will show you, if you hold down Shift and right click, you can drag, and you can even see how the light will interact with some of this. And so we're seeing stuff like how it's how the normal shows these little crevices in the wood. Lots of really cool stuff going on here. But it's in Substance, and I want this to be in Maya. And so what we're going to do now is export these materials out and plug them into Maya. And so there is a couple of things that are, I often just have to look them up to remember how they work. So if you search Substance to Arnold Maya, usually you find this first link here. And this is going to have most of the information we need on how to do this. And the big thing that I always have trouble remembering is this stuff here, right? These color spaces. So we'll come back to this here in just a second. But right now, we're back in Substance. We're just going to export out these materials. And so we go to File, Export Textures. And we probably want to go ahead and save this file as well. I'll call this barrel. This is saving it in a different spot, but don't worry about that. And then File, Export Textures. And then this is where we're going to have to figure out which way we want to export it. So if we're using Arnold, there's a preset for Arnold here in this AI standard surface and the output template. And that's going to give us close to the same materials that we need for Arnold or Redshift. There is a Redshift option as well. And right now I'm using Redshift, so I'll probably go ahead and just try that one. But if you go look at the different output templates between Arnold and Redshift, they're not dramatically different. Yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and use the Arnold one just to kind of, because they'll both work. So Arnold, 8-bit, all of this looks right, and then this is where it's going to export it to. And then I'm just going to hit export, and it exported all of them. And I can go to Open Output Directory. Now, I do want to say these are the materials that it exported. Right? I don't need all of them. Like, I need the metalness. I'll need the roughness. But if you look at like my emissive, there's actually nothing in there really. Emissive is like if it's a light and it's emitting light. So I can actually delete that one. These are from a different export. The height map, I'm not really going to use that one. I'm going to use the normal more. So I'm actually probably going to delete that one as well. And so really it's these four are the big ones that I need. Base color, normal, roughness, metalness. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit Control X to copy those out of there. And I'll go ahead and put those in my source images. New folder. Barrel textures. Control V and paste those in there. Right. So now they're all in my project folder, and I can go to Maya and we can start applying these materials to this. So again, Control 1, bring everything back so we can see this. I can scoot my barrel over here. I'm going to assign a new material to this. Right click, assign new material. And again, I'm using Redshift, so I'm going to use the standard material. If you're using Arnold, you would use the AI standard surface. Okay. And most of these are going to plug in exactly the same. So with Redshift, and again with that thing that we looked at, it will tell us a little bit of this. So our base color is going to, in Maya, is going to be under base color, and then subsurface for weight if we want to do any of that. So I'm just going to kind of move this off to the side. So base color, and that's where I'm going to map in my barrel color. Right. Base color. And when I do that, I'm going to automatically get that base color all lining up. Right? So the other things I want to map in are my roughness, my metallic, and my normal map. So metallic will go into metalness. So I choose this, and file, and I'm going to go choose barrel textures, metalness. And so by default, this is not going to come in correctly. So this is what I want to point out here. With metalness, or metallic, we need to have this set to raw, and alpha is luminance. Okay, so under here, my color space, I want to change that to raw. And under here, change that to alpha as luminance. And hopefully this will actually, if I go to my render view and click this, we'll start to see, yeah, that metallic is looking pretty good. So I'll go ahead and let this keep rendering, and I'll pull it back over as we need it. So back to here, the next one is roughness, and that's going to be under reflection, or if it's an Arnold, it's going to be under specular. So roughness, file, and then texture, roughness. And again, that is going to be that we need to make sure it's raw and alpha is luminance. So set this to raw and alpha is luminance. And really what that's going to give us is like the difference in the types of highlights on here, and how those highlights affect the scene. So if I tumble around here, where we can see like the glossiness on the back of this barrel. Right. And so the last thing is that normal map. So we can get just a little bit of that bumpiness on here. And with the normal map, that's going to go in there just as raw. We don't have to do the alpha as luminance, I don't believe. So let's go back to our barrel. And again, the two differences with this and Arnold and Redshift is for Arnold, I just click this button here and choose File. For Redshift, I have to click this button, and instead I have to type in normal because I need this Redshift normal map. So that's the only extra step that you would have to do for Redshift. Source images, barrel texture, normal, open. And actually, I don't know that I actually have to check that raw option. I think it just kind of automatically does it. And you're seeing we're getting a lot of bumpiness in there. In fact, I think we're getting a little too much. So I'm actually going to scale my normal back just a touch. And that way it's not quite, oh, it's too much. Not quite as strong. We can kind of dial that in a little bit better, right? So with all of that done, now we can navigate around in our scene and see how that barrel looks in comparison. Right? So this is looking pretty cool. So I will say the Redshift process is very similar. The only real difference is the normal map. You don't have to choose a Redshift normal map for when you're doing this in Arnold. So yeah.